Hey, did you know I'm doing a toy drive for the kids? That's right. If you want to support underprivileged children this holiday season, click the link below or in my bio, and you'll be able to access our link to our toy drive. We're going through Amazon, so all you need to do is buy toys. You can see we've already got a ton of them. The more the merrier. We are looking for gifts still for the very young kids, as well as gifts for the older kids. Thank you to all who've already bought toys and donated. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, and enjoy the video. Next up on the show, we have Joe, and Joe wants to call about topic number 5. He doesn't think trans men and women are men and women, so we're going to find out. Joe, if you can hear me, can you please provide me your age and pronouns?
We'll go with 30 and he, him, his.
Okay. Now, Joe, you don't think trans men and women are men and women. Can you tell me what you believe men and women to be?
Well, if I can get this straight, right?
No, you can only get a gay.
That if I'm making... What?
I said, no, you can only get a gay.
Oh, yeah. So, if I make a group that is exclusionary, which is what you've been talking about, I have to have a rule for that group, right? So it has
if
to be
it's
something
exclusionary,
that
there must be a necessary condition. Yeah, there must be a necessary condition to get in access to that group that nobody else possesses because they do not have access to that group. So a great example is like a square. A square must have 4 sides of equal lengths. A square must have 4 right angles, and a square must have 2 sets of perpendicular lines. I think those are all of the necessary conditions to be a square. But if you're missing any of those, you don't have a square anymore.
Don't have a square, yeah. So then a functioning definition for a man would be an individual whose sex aligns with the gender and or sex given to them at birth by the prescribed doctor and or physician or the nurse, whoever it was. Then the same would be for woman.
So that definition tells me that definition is going to tell me that men and women are dictated specifically by doctors. So if a doctor gets it wrong, then what are you? You would be what the doctor said, or you would be what you actually are?
It depends on what you mean by how the doctor got it wrong.
Let's say you're born.
Because that's the important part, right?
Yeah. Let's say you're born and the doctor, for some reason, said things. Let's say you're born, it's you, Joe, and the doctor mistook you as a female for whatever reason. Right. And let's say that you on your birth certificate, it says female because the doctor got it wrong. What would that make you a woman, or are you still a man?
I think under the context of the question and under what we have prescribed here in the United States, that would make me, unfortunately, functionally a woman, yes.
Really?
Unfortunately, yeah. Isn't that what we kind of have today? That people have to like fight against that legally.
Yeah, I just don't. So we're only speaking legally then. Like you're only talking about what like the legal government considers you. Because I wouldn't say that that's what makes you a woman or not. Is what the governing body assigned to you makes you. What if they're wrong?
Why not?
Because what if they're wrong? What if everybody in the government says tomorrow all black men are now classified women, right? Just because the government decides this is what we want to do. Like we would all look at that and be like, well, that's not the case, clearly.
I understand your point.
Don't under this, like, wouldn't you say that it's probably more accurate that gender is like a self prescribed thing, not a legally societally prescribed thing?
I mean, that would be the hope, right? But society does create gender because it is a gender norm. It's just something that we categorize because we like to categorize because we're sick fucks.
I could fully agree with you that society creates gender categories, right? Absolutely, it does. But I don't think that would put me in agreement that society then dictates who goes into those gender categories. I think society would just say these are what we, and it's not even a conscious thing, right? It takes fucking thousands of years and a lot of stuff like that. But I think society just predominantly goes, hey, these are how we as a society have like evolved into gender, and these are the categories you can fit into if you want to.
Well, I'm not trying to pivot, and I know people say that before they pivot, but let me ask you a question. Do you believe in objective truths?
I believe there are objective universal truths, but I don't believe those can exist within socially constructed things. I think there can be no objective truth in a social construction.
I also do not believe in objective truths to an extent. Of course, I can't say to a complete extent because, of course, gravity exists, and that is an objective truth, period. But if the society has made the gender norms and society has made the systems in place that we have, the doctors who say that the sex is male or female, then that's what we have to go as a society. And that ultimately is going to be where I say the exclusionary rule. That's the rule.
Well, so
Do I agree with it? I don't agree with it.
let me give a slight pushback on that. I think that
Sure.
first of all, I think that objective truths exist. I would say a lot of them tend to be relative. So while there are things that are objectively true, like what the value of that objective truth would tend to be a relative value. Subjectively, I think when we look at the way society engages in almost any category, it's very clear that a lot of it is society creating categories while individuals create the rules of those categories. So for instance, society absolutely has created this category of love and this conception of love on like a societal basis, but I as the individual get to determine how I engage with love, whether I feel love, what love looks like to me. Same with like things like friendship, same with like a lot of category distinctions that we make. I'd place gender in relatively the same way here, right? Society has created gender roles and categories and attributes that the genders fall into, but the way we engage with those would be on an individual basis.
I can see how that works. I can see how that's more logical than the system that we have in place, but that's not the system we have in place now, is it?
I would say it is the system that we have in place for like the bulk of people. I think they just don't realize it. Like for instance, you talk about how doctors will tell you if you're male or female, but doctors are just making a guess, typically based solely on external genitalia, which is only one of the factors that in science we use to classify sex. All right. Sex is classified by 5 specific things. It's chromosomes, hormone production, internal, external genitalia, and then why do I always blank on the fifth thing? I think it's reproductive systems, but I always blank on the 5th thing. So doctors are looking at one of those traits and going, well, we think because we assume that that everything else is in alignment with this, because typically it tends to be, I won't deny this, but we're going to make an educated guess that this is what your sex is. But they get it wrong. They get it wrong all the time. We know this from intersex conditions, right? You can have somebody born with a condition in which they may, to the doctors, read as male, but actually they're female. Or they may read as female, but actually they're male. So even in this, it's not some concrete objective thing, the way we place people into the sexual categories.
All right. You said quite a lot there, but from the steel man of what you're saying, functionally, we as a society, of course, we make these gender exclusionary roles, or we make these gender roles, but ultimately it comes down to the individual because it's subjective. And it's subjective because it is how the individual feels. And doctors, because they get it wrong all the time, we can't say that that's the exclusionary rule, because if they are wrong, then therefore the rule is faltered. Are you correct? Am I close to steel manning?
Yeah, the rule can't be on something subjective. So the rule couldn't be We're gonna place this
There it is.
rules
Subjective.
that
Okay.
yeah, like I can't if we're gonna talk about biology, right? So if I'm gonna say the rule to be in a woman would be some biological trait of being female. I can't say that would be based on a doctor's subjective perception on what you are, right? It would have to just be about what you objectively are. And doctors can only make a guess unless they're, karyotyping you, which tends to not be the case at birth. It's very rare they karyotype a baby after they're born. So doctors, now we can say, hey, doctors, now we karyotype everybody. But even then it has to be like, okay, well, are we now only saying that chromosomes make you man or woman? Because if that's the case, it's going to get into weird territories. Because there are females who are born with XY chromosomes, so they would now break that rule again. So it's. I just say the easiest way I describe it is it is impossible because of the diversity of sex in the human species. It's like impossible to set a rule for the gender categories man and woman based around some biological trait. It's just impossible to do.
I'll concede that's a fair point. Under my rule, or the rule that I thought I had, I can't exactly argue that. I'll concede on that. So I'll concede on that. Do you want to continue with a separate debate since I've conceded in this, or do you want to go to the next caller?
There's only one other caller. You've only been on the line for like 11 minutes. If there's something else you want to talk about, that's fine.
Well, I'm sorry for that being such a short debate.
Fine by me.
And it seemed as if it was more of a poking and prodding questions because of my own lack of, I don't know, I'll just say lack of intelligence or ignorance on this point. So I was trying more to just pick your brain, I guess, but I apologize for that. Secondly, though, about Christianity is not, or religion, I'll just say religion is not needed.
Okay, we're not gonna. Well, the topic is there's no reason to believe in Christianity, but like if you don't think religion's needed, then there's not really a disagreement we have on that.
No. I'm saying that's one of the topics on there.
Oh yeah, no, it's just it's not that religion isn't needed. It's just that there's no reason to believe in Christianity.
Can you expand upon that so I can try and have a more understanding so we can get grounds for the pros and the cons in the debate?
Yeah, Christianity would be the belief that Christ is, whether you're believing he's a prophet, the Messiah, Son of God, God himself, whatever it may be. Christianity would be the belief that this is the case. And I see no concrete reason given by any sort of Christian to substantiate any of that.
Oh, okay. So, from what I've been taught, I'll give you a little background. Grew up as a Roman Catholic, went over to be a Methodist, got baptized as a Baptist, and went to a Pentecostal church, and that was crazy. But I wouldn't consider myself a Christian. I consider myself a follower of Christ and his teachings. Under that information that I've just given you, the follower of Christ and his teachings, would you say that religiosity is also not needed because it isn't helpful in any way? Or do you feel as if that changes because it no longer falls on the purview of religion based upon the Judeo-Christian values of the New and Old Testament?
I think if you're just somebody that goes, hey, I think when Christ talked about like healing the sick and feeding the hungry and feeding the poor, I'm rocking with that. I'm gonna vibe with those teachings. I think that's fine. I don't think this would make you a Christian per se, because tons of people held those same beliefs both before and after Christ. I would say the only way to like really be a Christian is if you are fully in the camp of Christ is a deity and he represents a larger deity in the Christian God. To which my response is again,
so
just there's no evidence of this.
Yeah. There's no evidence that Christ ever said that he is a God.
Yeah, I don't believe Christ ever affirmed that he was God. I think he always affirmed that he was if he was talking about it, he would always affirm that he was the Son of God. And I don't think there's any evidence of even had Christ said this, there's no evidence that he truly was. I always say I believe in the man. I don't believe in the mysticism. So there's no evidence for the mysticism of Christ, which would lead me to have no reason to believe he's actually a deity of any kind.
Even though he fulfilled all the prophecies in the Old Testament to confirm his deity.
I don't believe he fulfilled anything. And I don't believe the Bible is able to prove that he fulfilled any sort of deity claim.
So when he was crucified and pierced, and when it was saying that he'd be pierced for our transgressions, but he wouldn't have a broken bone in his body, that wouldn't be substantiated?
No. First of all, crucifixion was the most common form for Romans to like get rid of political enemies. Like crucifixion was like pretty common back in the day. So just saying that he would be pierced and then he gets crucified isn't enough for me. Second, there's no evidence that when he was crucified, he didn't have any broken bones. There's no evidence of this. And there's especially no evidence in the resurrection. So because of that, I don't believe in the mysticism.
And as far as the evidence goes for him being pierced in the side by the spear, and that came out was water. And at that time, there was no way to understand why water would have come out. And in the Old Testament, there's nobody that would have understand why there's water come out. But yet it predicted that would happen. That isn't also proof.
No, because we have no evidence that when he was pierced in the side, water actually came out.
So the Roman documentation that was passed down, that isn't proof.
That doesn't come from Roman documentation. It comes from the Gospel of John. Both Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they don't talk about this. This detail is not in any of their Gospels, which are considered the synoptic Gospels. John is the only Gospel that talks about this. There are no Roman records from the time Jesus was crucified. There don't exist any. The only records of Jesus's existence come from the Gospels, and they come from Josephus, and I don't remember the other guy. There's Roman claims that he exists from evidence from like later, but there are none from the crucifixion. We don't have any documents from the Romans about the crucifixion, because they didn't consider Jesus a worthwhile person to document. He was just to them, he wasn't a deity. He was just a commoner that they crucified, like they did hundreds of people.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. So this is why I always say there's no proof of the mysticism, because the only proof we have really comes from the Gospels, and there's no. I would need. I don't. The Gospels are fine in proving that he was a real person, because they meet the burden of proof that any real person at that time would need, which is just multiple sources claiming that you were a person that existed. So I have no problem admitting Jesus existed between the writings of Josephus and the writing of the Gospels. But in order to make the claim that Jesus there was any mysticism, I need way more than just the Gospels to go off of that.
What would you need?
I would need evidence outside of those. I would need more firsthand accounts. We only have secondhand accounts of Jesus. There are literally no firsthand writings of Christ. So I would need firsthand accounts from people. I would need firsthand accounts from authority powers, and firsthand accounts from powers acting in opposition to Jesus. So like if the Romans had like a written record from his crucifixion and we're like, holy shit, dude, this guy came back from the dead. Like if the Romans wrote this along with it, there might be a lot stronger evidence. I would still have a level of skepticism on there might have been something going on here, but there would have been a big burden of evidence. But again, we don't have any written evidence from the period he was alive. The earliest written evidence of Jesus comes 20 years after his death. And that's
why
from
it's called faith, because we don't have any evidence.
Paul, I think that's from the letters. The Paul's letters is yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Because there is only faith, that to me is not a good enough reason to believe in Christianity. So that's why I say there's no reason to believe.
Even if that faith even if that faith does bring apart miracles that we can see today?
I have not seen any
Like
miracles brought about through
stigmata that
faith.
we've seen.
Can you provide me any of these miracles? I personally have not seen a single miracle that can't be explained.
I can't. Well, there are cases of stigmata and stuff along those lines, carryings of people's ailments that just happen. People who have just had cancer and now they don't.
Yeah, but we know that sometimes cancer just goes away, right? This doesn't tell me that it's a miracle, right? Like it could be an unexplainable medical phenomenon, but this doesn't lead me to believe divine miracle, right? That would be a second.
You wouldn't classify that as some sort of miraculous thing that they get prayed over and then suddenly. I understand that cancer can go away. I understand cancer can heal. I'm not inept in that way, but I'm making the point that this individual who had cancer and then gets prayed over now no longer has cancer.
No, because what about the far larger amount of people that had cancer, got prayed over, and then died? So the miracle is that sometimes people can pray over cancer. Like it's not enough. It's not enough to prove any sort of divinity claim. Because what it does essentially is it becomes a God of the gaps argument. It's, hey, this thing was a miracle and we can't explain it, so it must be God, as opposed to one of the other. To give a really great example of this, I had somebody that I was talking to on a live, I think it was yesterday, who was talking, or 2 days ago, who was talking about how his kid had a heart murmur, and he prayed and it just magically went away, and that led him to Christ. But like heart murmurs are one of the most common things that when they happen in children and teen, that they go away. Like it's just a thing. And in kids and teens, heart murmurs tend to not be formed from, they don't tend to arise from the same reason heart murmurs arise from adults. And so therefore they're not as permanent. So I'm like, you're just using God to fit into a place that you don't have an explanation for. So to me, that's not compelling evidence of a God, right? Because what makes it a Christian God? It could be it could be that happened due to Norse paganism, or that happened due to the God of the Muslim faith, or due to one of the other, like attributing that to the Christian God. Just to me, it doesn't meet that burden of proof.
The Muslim faith believes in the same God. It's just that they have the arguments over Jesus. And I don't want to get into that. Sure, but back to the point of the cancer and the healing in the Bible. There's been several cases of Jesus healing individuals, right? And he says, "Get up and walk," and this person would get up and walk, right? But he didn't heal everyone. And you make a very fair point that these people get prayed over, but there are millions of other cases of individuals who pray and nothing happens. And I've known individuals who've lost their faith because they've prayed for things that would seem it would be in the purview of God, and they die. But it comes back to the point. God didn't tell everyone to walk. He just told that one individual to get up and walk.
But so here's the issue with that. Here's the issue with that. We don't know. Sure. Again, all of these are secondhand accounts. All of the Gospels are written secondhand. It's not written firsthand. It's not that Matthew is writing about his experience with Jesus. He's writing secondhand. So I don't know that any of these miracles that happen in the Gospel are real. You can look at the fact that John writes about miracles that Matthew, Paul, and Mark never write about. Right? I very much don't. Oh, go ahead.
One second. Sorry. I wasn't bringing up the miracles to show the divinity of Jesus. I was bringing up the miracles in the sense that not everyone was healed. God didn't heal every single leper he came across.
My only response is we don't know that Jesus healed anybody. That's all I mean, is we don't know that he actually healed anybody.
I'm not saying that. But
I'm saying that I can't do the claim that like God, because I don't know that God healed a single soul. So my claim is still pretty strong here in that God's never healed anybody. But I understand that you're saying that if God does heal some people, then he's not going to heal everybody. Like if it is the case that he does heal, we've shown that he doesn't heal every single person that prays to him. Sure, I would just then mark this up to some level of cruelty, right? Like I would say that seems to be a cruel God, which would go against the beliefs in Christianity that God is all good, in which case I would then posit to say that I reject a reason to believe in this God.
Well, he's not all good. He's all whole. He's one. He's perfection. He can see the beginning and the end, supposedly. So if he can see the beginning and the end, he kind of has to pick and choose what's done in order to fit the grand scheme of things, right?
I would very much argue that the Bible labels God as an all good, all moral being,
An all perfect being. It can't say that God's an all good being when, if you look in the Old Testament, what was that? These kids were like making fun of a crippled, and God sent bears and killed all those children.
No, it was worse. They made fun of a bald man.
Oh, bald. That's it. That's crazy,
Yeah.
Man. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. I apologize. But I don't think it could ever claim that God is all good and loving, because if you're just loving, then no.
I guess to me, I know it doesn't outwardly claim it. Yes, you're right. The Bible doesn't outwardly make claims that God is this all moral being. It just tends to be the way he's described by Christians and Christianity as a whole. Yeah. Yeah, they tend to describe God in this way.
Well, I'm never going to be able to argue into faith, and I didn't mean to come in here and to argue with that. I just once again was trying to poke and prod and see a little bit more, see where I can learn more, because you honestly have, I would say, changed the way that I have viewed the Bible. And because I've been watching your show for a while, my partner and I, we found your show, man, like a year ago. And I've never called in, but it's changed the way I viewed about trans individuals, and I've racked my brain around the ideas, because I'm not just somebody who accepts things very easily. And you've led me to do my own research, and that's why I wanted to call about the trans debate. And I think you really have changed my opinion on trans men and women being men and women. That last little bit was the last little thing I was holding on to in my brain. But you've also changed how I viewed the Bible, because I used to view it as completely factually accurate. And after doing a lot of my own research, it's just not true. A lot of it has been changed. For instance, when it says about gay people, that was changed. That wasn't true. It didn't say about homosexuality. It was talking about having sex with children, male children, that is. So a lot of it has changed. So yeah, I'm sorry I'm not great at debating, but I think I did okay.
Yeah, I had no issues with the call. I think it was a good call.
Yeah, and you've helped me out, and I just want to thank you so much. Just keep doing what you're doing. I'm not trying to waste your time, but I'll call in the future to see if there's anything more I need to kind of like learn or do. I'm sorry I can't afford your Patreon or anything like that. I just don't have the money.
All good, friend. All good.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I know. I mean, no offense to this, but I'll be praying for you.
Okay.
All right. Bye, man.
Bye-bye. Hey, thank you all for watching this video. If you don't know me, I'm Jovan Bradley. I'm a leftist content creator who does debates, political commentary, gaming, and more. If this is your first video, thanks for sticking to the end, and I hope you subscribe. I post videos daily, and there are hundreds of past debates on my page for you to enjoy. Thank you to all my YouTube members. Your continued support helps me create as much as I can. Consider joining. A membership starts at $2.99 and gets you access to our community Discord, early access to videos, and more. Shout out to my Tier 4 members, Red Fairy DF, Ellie McReady, Not 3.6R, Sylvia Snow, Paul D, Zurith Moonpaw, Kazim, Never Again, Bamji, Emery Imogene, Ayla Ursus, Call Me Vel, Kelsey K, Jake Gorshander, Matthew Holloway, Vampy, Yemye, Mealy, and Dragon Nerd. Your continued support goes a long way in helping me continue the fight for equity, justice, and education. Thank you again for watching.